Tell me about nature, because I know it's important to you, and I know you had kind of like a 9-day nature vision quest that you did a couple of years ago, and I'm finding myself much more drawn into nature, into where I'm just like, okay, something's going on here, where I seek it out. I swim in ponds. It's just like this thing where I really appreciate it. I appreciate the deep connection, but it took me a long time to actually appreciate it. And this is coming from a place like California that has beautiful parts and ugly parts.
Right.
But tell me about you and your connection with nature. And
nature it's a reflection of the truth of the self. So you have your inner nature, which is what we're all working to understand, I think. Not all of us, I say all, but some people just don't give a shit.
right.
But some people don't want to be aware. Some people have no desire. And you see that's one of the sicknesses, that people don't want to be aware.
But it will catch up to them somehow over time, won't it?
Or
not. I mean,
or we'll kill ourselves and become extinct.
Right. But it will result in some kind of disconnect or some kind of thing happening if you don't know yourself, won't it?
If I go out to a field and I see a beautiful field of flowers, I go, wow, this is a beautiful field of flowers. And it's growing there and it's alive and it's vibrant. And there's a connection there. And they're all connected to each other. But then I go to a single flower and I pull it from the soil. And as soon as I pull it from the soil, I remove it from nature because I want it. And now it becomes separate. And as soon as it becomes separate, it dies. It's no longer a part of what it was. This is what we've done to ourselves. We've been, we're the leaves from the tree, but then we come in here and we make lots of nice little right angles. Everything comes in a package. We have no idea where our food comes from. We have no idea where our water comes from. Where's the water source in London? Where are we actually getting the water from? Is it an aquifer? Like, do we know where this is? All I know is I go to the tap and I turn a little thing and then out comes water. There's no connection to that stream. There's no connection to the fruits or the vegetables or the I go to Whole Foods. Oh, I want that. And so we've done this for convenience, and we've made things really easy, and in that convenience, in these soft, comfy chairs and stuff, we've created a separation, and that's where the sickness has come from. Returning to nature is getting rid of that sickness. It's coming back to the source, which is self, because nature is self. Stop seeing it as something different. Start seeing it as your essence, as your being, as the primordial life that fuels everything. We like to think of ourselves as different. You look different than me, so you're different.
Right.
But you're not. So in the body we have about 37 trillion cells. Human cells that make up who you are, make up who I am. You have about 100 trillion bacteria in your body. About 3 times the amount of bacteria than human cells. You're more not you than you are you. And each one of those cells has its own function in life and kind of thing that it goes through. Grows, dies, replicates, but you don't identify as being separate. 7 billion people in the world, and yet we think that we're all separate instead of thinking that we're all one. If I take a string of lights, of like Christmas lights, and they're all pretty different colors, and I go, oh, there's a bunch of pretty different lights, and I plug it into the wall, and it lights them all up from the same source. Our problem is we identify as an individual rather than identifying with the source, what actually makes us shine, what actually makes us glow. Once we start to, returning to nature is returning to that source, to actually identify with who you really are, because without that we don't shine, we don't glow, there's no connection. When the leaves fall from the tree, they die.
So a practice isn't enough. You have to get out there and return.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that you can do, but ultimately, when you really want to understand the self, you need to return to nature.
Tell me about the Vision Quest and like what it is. And
The Vision Quest is kind of a weird name, and people think a lot of different ways about it. And some people, I think you had your ayahuasca experience.
yeah, I did, and those were powerful. And honestly, when you're telling me about these, we're all connected in nature and we're all one. I mean, these are the messages I get hit pretty hard with when I do have those plant medicine ceremonies. So,
Yeah.
But I know you can also get those messages doing a lot of different things.
Just being present. So essentially, the whole thing was I sat with my teacher, went through these things called the 12 guiding principles, which was created by John P. Milton, who's someone that's done this practice of vision questing, or return to nature, the way of nature. And it's about seeing things as they change, understanding that, committing to the truth as truth is freedom, to relax, to cultivate the energy of nature, and essentially to return to nature. So I went out there. This was in Sweden, in the forest, in July or August. Still pretty cold out there. Rained almost every single day, and it was a very simple thing, but it was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And I fought in Iraq, and I've done a lot of hard, crazy things, but nothing is harder than having to confront yourself for that long. Once the first thing that comes up is you needing distractions. I didn't have any paper, no pen, no phone. I wasn't supposed to survive. I'm not supposed to make a fire. I'm not supposed to. I had a little bit of food, just enough to survive. No clothes.
You're naked.
Naked.
Wow.
The reason why like every once in a while I'll post a picture of me in nature without clothes on.
Yeah.
And people will like attack, oh, why is he naked? And you're just people don't understand what it is to be naked. Like we think we define ourselves by the clothes that we wear. I know you dress in a nice suit because you are playing that role. You're putting out this image of almost who you think you should be, or you're identifying with. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I do the same thing. Everybody does. Mm. But when you remove all those things that make your image, then you strip down to who you are, there's nothing left but you. You actually start to understand who you are, and to take off all those things is in a way you're removing your identity, right? Or your false identity, because that's not who you are. You're not this nice suit.
And so that's why it's important to go out and do this naked.
Yeah, and you're also alone, so you remove culture. Because the culture is the other thing that we're trying to adhere to. I'm supposed to act a certain way or be a certain way. I went out there, there's no one there. I sing songs of the forest. One, because I was half losing my mind sometimes, and others just because I was like getting back to that primordial, like, this is who I am in life. And the first thing that came up was like, I am so bored. I would need something. I need to be somewhere else. My mind needs to be somewhere else. I need to be distracted. Because now I'm with me. And I don't like that.